And we are now recording. I appreciate everybody joining in today for this professional learning session. And as Miss Moyer keeps me updated, we have a lot more that attend each week on the on-demand lessons. I personally am really excited to record this one with Mr. Adkins about our district's culture journey over the years. Because I think there's been some great successes, and I also think there's been some misconceptions about the work that we've been doing. And so I'm really excited to have Pat talk, and I'm going to join him on a few slides and just kind of share the work we've been doing and what we think it means. So Pat, and to everybody joining, thank you for being with us today, and everybody watching on demand, thanks as well.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. I hope we can have some interaction with this because I know we only have 30 minutes, but you certainly don't want to listen to me or just listen to Kelly and I for 30 minutes. When Kelly had approached me with this idea, thought it was great. There have been a lot of things. We've been on this journey now. I think this is year 5 or 6. I feel like I've learned a lot. There's a lot of look backs. Several people, many of you may not even have been here when we started it originally. But man, there has been a lot of great things going on, but I do want to just throw up one caution. And I think, over the years, you have an opportunity to reflect. And I think as I get older, I spend a lot more time in reflection than I ever have. And, I think there was perhaps a misconception early in our work, and maybe even here recently, that we were proclaiming that we have an elite culture here in Port Clinton. That's never been the case, because I'm going to tell you, we don't. I don't know who does. Building a great culture is something that takes work every single day. And I know there's not a day goes by that I don't reflect on the decisions that I make or the actions that I've taken and see how they factor in to the overall culture of our school. But never would I say, hey, look at us, we got it all figured out, because completely not the case. But I will say this, I don't know that many people work harder than we do on it, all the way from the primary up through our Lead Like a Redskin that we have at the high school. There's a lot of awesome things going on, but I don't ever want to become preachy. And I've realized that especially the last couple of years, is really not to try to come off as being preachy. There's a lot of different definitions of culture. We've spent a lot of time with Focus 3, but that's not it. There's a lot we're going to talk about. Culture is way, way, way more than that. But I've seen a lot of different definitions on culture, and this is the one that resonates with me, and I think it will with you too. Culture is our shared beliefs and behaviors that increase or decrease our organization's chances of accomplishing its outcomes. Our shared beliefs and behavior that increase our chances in accomplishing our outcomes. It's really how we behave. It's how we handle ourselves. And we're going to talk about some different things as we go. We have a mission statement in this school district, and I don't know how many of you, know where it is or even aware of it, but a lot of times districts set mission statements and they just put them away somewhere. Our mission statement speaks to inspiring excellence in character and performance in every student. That's the Cliff Note version of it. Our culture is how we do that. Our beliefs and our behaviors that allow us to inspire excellence, not just in performance, but in character. And that's been a big part of our work over the last few years. At the end of the day, it's how we behave. It doesn't matter what I say. And I can give you example after example after example where I've said something and maybe it didn't go that way. My actions didn't match what I said. But the one thing I can tell you is, as I'm always usually pretty aware of that and reflect back to it. This is Joe Sanfilippo, and Joe was here last year, and we're really excited. We have a really cool, I think, opening day speaker coming in this year too, but just think back to our opening day speakers. We really try to bring people in to talk about culture. And it's not just Tim Kite, and it's not just the R factor. It's so many other things. It's about building relationships. And that's one of the things that Joe talked about. And it's really important to understand that we build culture 30 seconds at a time. I didn't get a chance to see who was all on here as is we want, well, I guess I can see that. But Heather DeHaas is a fantastic young lady for us, and has gone back and got her counseling degree and is committed absolutely to being the best version of herself. But in one conversation that I could have with Heather, I could undo a tremendous amount of trust. It takes 30 seconds. It takes conversations. It takes relationships. Heather needs to know at the end of the day that I appreciate the work that she's done. That Kendra appreciates the work that she's done, and that she's a valued member of our team. You know, and to get to know one another. That's a really important piece, because as we do this, relationships are really important. I had an interview yesterday with a gentleman who's an aspiring superintendent, and he sat down and during our conversation, he said, Pat, what are you most proud of in your school district? He said, is it the facilities? Is it the field house? I said, absolutely not. Those things would have happened no matter who was in this school district. We have a great community, and those things would have happened. But one of the things I'm really proud of is the relationships we have. I can tell you honestly, I still love my job. After 18 years of doing this, I still love my job. I told Gary Steyer the other day as we were interviewing, how cool is this? We get to talk to people from outside our school district and see how they do things. And it's really awesome. But we really do build culture 30 seconds at a time. And that's an important piece. And we need to know this. Here's one thing I've learned over this time. And I know we only have 30 minutes, so I'm going to probably talk faster than I usually do. But Kelly added this slide, and I think it's very powerful, because so many of us, especially in the last couple of years with COVID, are going through things that people wouldn't even know unless you have a relationship with them. You know, I've shared pretty openly. My parents are approaching that age where, you know, we're slowly becoming the caregivers for them. And it's a difficult process. And some days it's tougher than others. But our kids, all of us, we've all got things going on in our lives. And one of the things that I hope we're able to do here is provide an environment that, you know, we may not love coming to work every day, but most of the time when we're here, this is kind of a safe place, and we're surrounded by people we care about and people we enjoy working with. I know that I am. And, you know, one of the things I've really tried to do is try to identify, you know, what are people going through? Because again, everybody's dealing with something. And a lot of times we don't know what it is. And that's with our kids too. You know, I walked in with a young man over at Baton from recess. He had a Notre Dame hat on, and I don't know, he was probably, I think he was in probably intermediate, might have been third or fourth grader. He had a Notre Dame hat on, and Lou Holtz is from our hometown. And so I made small talk. I'm like, hey buddy, I love your hat. He said, thank you. It was my brother's. He overdosed this summer. I have two stories like that actually took place within about 4 weeks of one another. Two of our kids, another one had a necklace on, and I made a comment about his necklace, and he said, thank you. It's my brother's ashes. He died of a heroin overdose this past summer. And that one was a little while ago. But everybody's dealing with something. And I think part of culture is recognizing that and trying to build those relationships. I want to talk about R Factor just for a little bit. You know, we were heavily into this, you know, in the beginning, and it's kind of slowed down a little bit. I mean, COVID has certainly had a lot to do with that. I still believe in it very much, but R Factor isn't our culture. And I think some people have mistaken it that anytime we talk about culture, that's the only thing we're talking about. That's not it. It's nothing more than a system. It's a system that I like. It's a system that I believe in. For me personally, and I try to grow by using it, but it does not eliminate challenges. I've talked to a lot of people who it seems like, you know, they're surprised that we still have challenges, and we can't have a great culture if we have challenges. Boy, that's just not true. We're always going to have challenges. When we deal with people the way that we do, there will always be challenges. Teresa Fillmore will come into her classroom and always have a challenge with the kindergarten student. And I'm going to come in and have challenges just like all of you are. It doesn't eliminate those things. You know, culture, one of the phrases I like from a gentleman by the name of Matthew Kelly is culture doesn't build entitlement. It's about empowerment. So that's an important thing. Culture work doesn't mean everybody gets everything they want. It'd be a circus, right? But the R factor does give us tools to use whenever things get difficult. This is our culture to me, our BBO. And I'll put this up against anybody's mission statement or anything we've done. If we live the behaviors, these are our shared behaviors. Remember, we said culture is shared beliefs and behaviors. Well, here they are. This is what we as a district, I didn't determine this. We as a district said, this is who we are. We spent a tremendous amount of time building this. There's our 3 core beliefs. I think most of you know those. We've all got the shirts that have the together on them and the bracelets and, relentless pursuit of growth. And Kelly and I have talked a lot about this one. Sometimes I think this one can come back to bite us. Sometimes I wanted to say a moderate pursuit of growth because sometimes relentless is a big word. And, it gets tough. It can create some challenges. And then the third one is own it. You look at those behaviors. My daughter Kennedy's 18 years old. I can tell you there's not a behavior listed there that I would not want her to buy into and to act accordingly. That's real important. In the behaviors, again, those are the shared behaviors. This is how we implement our mission statement. And then there's the outcomes. I still want to have fun when I come to work. We want to have better results, but I also want to have fun, and each one of us ultimately work to be the best version of ourselves and pride in our actions and trust one another. So our BBO to me is so powerful that our district leadership team, and I hope you've all seen this at some point, but our district leadership team took it one step further. It made what's called our core 4, kind of our academic version of our BBO. The outcomes are the same, but the beliefs and behaviors are very academically driven. We put this together a couple years ago. And right now our DLT, which is made up of teachers from each building and administrators, we're breaking down each one of these beliefs. In our last meeting, we broke down the belief of each staff member has the ability to impact individual growth and learning. Our next one will tackle literacy skills are essential for all areas of learning. How are we doing? Are we meeting up to the behaviors that we've created? Are we falling short? What do we need to do? It's excellent conversation. And then we'll tackle the other 2. When we live our BBO or our culture's right, what happens? What are some things that happen? I want to give you some examples and then some things that I think. And these are Pat's personal reflections. Sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit, but these are just some things that I think about that have happened when we live our BBO. Our alignment. You've all seen this slide, right? Where this slide over here with the arrows pointing in the different direction. Guys, that's where we were 6 years ago. I absolutely remember 2 bargaining agreements that were not ratified, and we had labor union issues. We were not aligned. Didn't mean everybody wasn't working hard, but man, we were not going in the same direction. I still believe coming through COVID that we absolutely were aligned. In this arrow here with the different colors, remember, man, that's UBU, but aligned with us. We're not trying to make everybody the same. I don't want everybody the same. We want creativity. We want people to embrace who they are. But again, we need all of our arrows pointing in the same way. And when they do that, you remember, this is a picture from when somebody had the brilliant idea to try to get everybody to go up to the stadium for the picture, and the drone camera didn't work, and we lost half our kids on the way back. But what a great day that was. That was one of our opening. That was the opening day about 4 years ago. The excitement with our kids. Again, we were doing great things for others, except for this young lady here who's on her phone. She wasn't too engaged. But living it, doing great things for others. I just remember that day. This is one of my favorite pictures, man. Bosco Bob on the front of this. People laughing together. It doesn't matter what part of our organization you belong to. But man, we should all care about one another. And when we live our BBO, we certainly do that. And this was a fun time we had over at the Kelly's Island with our school bus drivers, our maintenance folks, and our classified people. This is one of the highlights of my time here at PC. We had a ball. I've never heard a group of people laugh so hard as they did when we were over there. And again, it was just spending time together and investing time to care and connect. our restart readiness. I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to talk to some other school districts, but man, COVID was a pain for all of us, but it went a whole lot smoother here than it went in a lot of other districts. And that's because of you guys. That's because of the jobs that you've done in your classrooms. And there may have been days where we had to do things, a plan A or a plan B, but that people weren't wild about, but they did them. You know, there was a point where some people had shared with me that maybe there wasn't enough information being shared, and that was awesome. So we started the Zoom meetings on, I think they were Mondays, in our district update. Glad to report we got 0 cases again, knock on wood. But that restart readiness piece, that took a lot of work amongst a lot of people. And again, it's another example of us being aligned. And I don't know if all of you follow our sports programs or not, but we have never, in my 18 years as superintendent, had the sports season that we're having right now. We've got great leaders on our teams who have provided tremendous leadership. And, you know, I think that they've had a relentless pursuit of growth. Cammie Perriott, second at the state swim. You know, our boosters going in with our field house, our football team, SBC, tennis, soccer girls, greatest best season they've had. Women's wrestling, Cadence finishing 4th. 4 girls going to the state wrestling. Sectional basketball championship, Danny Diaz, coach of the year. I mean, it just goes on and on. This is where I wish we had the all sports trophy again, because I think we'd win it this year. Now, does that have anything to do with R Factor or stuff like that? Not only that, but it's culture. That's what culture is. Again, it's because we're aligned. Our alignment allowed us to purchase a field house with our booster organization. Great relationships with them allowed us to do that. It's also academically, and I don't have a good slide for this, but you know, academically, this group is working harder than we've ever worked. There was a goal given to me from our Board of Education, was do the best job we could, making up for the learning loss to our students over the last 2 years. And I had to tell you, you guys are working extremely hard and you're extremely focused. If you follow Baton Primary at all in the intermediate and the work they're doing with literacy, it's amazing. We have a dyslexia guide that's been given to us that I'm watching districts freak out over. And for us, it's like, yeah, that's what we're doing. It's the science of reading. We got it. Again, the alignment there has been really good. In the personal learning communities up at the high school, allowing teachers having time to collaborate with one another, the restart readiness assessments everybody's doing. I just cannot recall a time in our district where we have been more aligned. You know, when we talk about the 6 R factors, I don't ever want to beat anybody over the head with it, but I reflect on these daily. And, you know, the press pause, get your mind right, and step up. Get your mind right. That's just an important one for me. Because it can be rough. It can be rough coming in every day, and especially when we've had some of the challenges that we've had on us. And I still keep these on my desk and press pause. I've gotten really good at that. You know, I don't send the angry emails. Not that I send a bunch of them, but you know, I've learned how to kind of manage those things. Kelly, what are some things that you experience when we're living our culture and when we're living our BBO?
Well, you know, right before this presentation, I had a conversation with a couple of coworkers about the presentation. And they're like, well, what is it about? And I said, well, you know, it's our journey. And point blank, the person said, how do you think we're doing? And I said, well, that's a great question. It depends on your perspective of things. And I used a lawnmower analogy of, do you focus on what needs to be mowed, that, you know, it's messy and uncut? Or do you focus on the accomplishments and the progress that we've made? And while Pat, you know, has already shared, we have a lot of work to do still. I think we always will. I think as new people come into the community or into the district, as we have new challenges faced by students and families and you know, from ODE and from everywhere else, we're always going to have these challenges. And I just really like the fact that we're on the journey. I'm fortunate that I know a lot of people in many other districts, and they're faced with the same challenges that we are. But what they're missing is the intentionality of focusing on culture that we have, and quite frankly, the variety of tools that we've been provided with. So, it's really my perspective. I can come in and focus on what's wrong with the day. I can't believe I have to go and have this conversation or do this thing, or I can focus on the opportunity. And I'm just really thankful for our intentionality with it and having the tools and the variety of it. Like each year we're trying to keep it alive. And so I think Pat has highlighted so many things academically. There's no doubt in my mind that we are not having the conversations that other districts are envious of. And the dyslexia was just one area. I mean, we get calls, not that we're doing everything right, but we're working really hard, and people are seeking us out to figure out what we're doing. And I think that's just really awesome. I'm fortunate that I get to go in each of the buildings, and I just see amazing learning and instruction taking place, and those connections going place. So those are my comments, Pat.
And it's awesome, Kelly. And the equation, the E plus R equals O. This is something this has probably been, out of everything that we've done, probably the one thing that's helped me the most, because this really allows, I think, me in my position to make better decisions. Heck, I even use it in negotiations with classified staff. It really helps us get, common outcomes. Remember, we don't control the events. Events just happen to us. We can influence the outcome by our R, but we get the outcome based on the responses that we have. And this has really been a powerful one for me. What happens when we don't live our BBO? I'll give you my example. When I'm not living our BBO and I'm not in tune and I'm not aligned, here's what happens to me. I just BCD. Call it venting, call it complaining, whatever you want. I can't tell you how many people will come into me and say, hey, I got a problem, but I also got a solution. Remember, that's all we're asking for. No BCD doesn't mean you can't complain. It doesn't mean you can't be unhappy. It doesn't mean you don't you can't disagree with the decision made. Just try to be part of the solution. That's it. And we get a lot further that way. We had a time, you can see the little marbles there, where administratively I felt like we were really heavy in BCD. So I told him, I gave them each of the marbles, including myself, and each one was worth $1. And anytime we BCD'd, we had to put a marble in a cup. And then if somebody caught you, you had to put 2 in. And then we added up how much we had, and we made a donation to a needy family in the community, just to try to bring awareness, because it's easy to do. When I'm not living our BBO, I live down here, impulse, autopilot, and resistant. I really try not to be there. Gary and I are traveling, and Rick, we're traveling to the boys sectional game, and we had a little mishap at the Turnpike toll booth that I was afraid was going to cause us to miss the opening tip. And Gary reminded me of press pause, and I said, Gary, I'm pressing as hard as I can right now. But I knew not to act on it. And I stayed intentional. I stayed purposeful and skillful, and was able to not create a situation I would regret the next morning. This is really another important piece that I've learned is it is an internal journey. You will only get out of our culture work what you put into it. And that is the same for me. I have become, quite frankly, a student. This book sits on my desk right now. I always try to have a book on my desk that I'm reading. I got this from Carrie Sanchez, is a big reader, and this book isn't from Carrie, but the idea from Carrie. I always keep a book on my desk. And when I come in the morning, and I try to come in early, I try to get 10 pages a day. But this is The Culture Solution by Matthew Kelly. Jimmy Casas, Culturize. Jimmy Casas, Live Your Excellence. These are all things that help build culture. And they're important part of what we do. And it's hard enough for us to manage ourselves, let alone trying to manage others. So it is an internal journey. And I really like this quote from Matthew Kelly. We're used to the best version of ourselves, but our organization only can become the best version of itself to the extent that the people who are driving the organization are becoming the best version of themselves. It's common language. It's the same language that Focus 3 uses, but through another person. Very, very powerful. This is what I think we got to be careful of. We're not living our culture right. We talk about the arrows being aligned. when I'm BCDing or I'm getting on autopilot, slowly my arrows are changing, and they're changing over time. And when that happens, we got to adjust and adapt and bring them back up to being aligned. I can remember vividly where we were 6 years ago when we started this journey. Like I said, labor issues, 2 contracts back to back, not ratified. I got to tell you, as a person that leads, the board side of negotiations with great people like Kurt Heilman and Greg Grimm and the folks that are on those committees, it is a very respectful communication that takes place. Even from our Board of Education, I've seen them grow over the past 6 years. So at the end of the day, when we talk about culture, I want you to just think of this arrow. Is this where we are? And when you find yourself, or we find ourselves getting where these arrows are misaligned, whether you use the system that we have, the 6 R factors, or you have another system, the R factors work really well for me. And if you're not using that, I don't know what system you're using, but we got to get back in line with one another. Because man, we're able to do we've been doing some great things, in my opinion, because we are aligned. And Kelly, I don't know if you've got some examples of some things that happen when we're not aligned. This is my last slide, and we have 1 minute to go.
Well, the only comment I wanted to make from what you shared was it's been a great joy of mine to watch teachers and principals and coaches and everybody who works in the district, even bus drivers, take the work and the things that we've been doing and making them their own in their classroom, in the hallways, on the buses and things like that. That's been super cool to watch develop. And so if you're contributing positively to the culture, and so many are, it does make work a joy. It really is fun to come in and see other people, to be on that journey, that want to work at a place where fun's at the top of the list, but you still want to make a difference in the lives of students. I just love that. So
yeah, we're certainly not perfect, but we work really hard here, and you guys all work really hard here, and I love it. And it's wonderful, and this is good stuff for our kids. Think about your kids, your own children, or your students. Which of those things in our BBO would you not want them to live? Are our kids not better if they make disciplined decisions? Dear goodness. Think about some of the things they're faced with right now with social media. Absolutely. Those are just important things. When we're living our culture, we're in a pretty good place. And when we're not, we got to refocus and get back to where we are aligned. So, Kelly, I thank you for inviting me in today.
Yep, that's just
I
a link.
to read that, or did Chelsea send that to everybody?
It's just a link for anybody attending to sign up to get their contact hours, because once we shut it down, it's gone. But if anybody has a problem, just send me an email. Pat, thank you for sharing that today. And everyone who attended, thank you for attending in person. And for everybody who watches on demand, thank you for that. I really appreciate everything that you do every single day. And I hope you'll send us emails with examples of what you've done to contribute, because it's always cool to see that, or invite me over to see that as well. I'm just really proud to be part of an organization that with the intentionality on culture. And I'm glad that we're having this discussion today and sharing it out. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.